Hi, in this video we are going to go over some basic looping techniques in Python. For example, the first function that we are going to go over that is the function range. And if I want to print 0 to 9, so I can get by writing start of the 0 to 10. 10 is not included. So range 0 to 10 means that the starting from 0 and less than 10. So it doesn't go to 10, it goes to 1 less than that, which is 9. So also when we use the function range, we don't technically need to use 0 as the starting. By default, 0 is the starting point. So as you see, that is identical. So the results are identical. I don't need to write it down the 0 here. The other thing is that, so sometimes you want to increment but with different steps. For example, if I go with one step, I get the exact same thing. But what happens if I go 2 steps? So I get this one. So I start from 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. The next one is 10, but 10 is not included, so it's going to end at 8. I might go for 3. So I get this one, 0, 3, 6, 9. Okay, you might say I want to have that range, but I want that to be in a reverse order. So in that case, if I can go from 9 to 0 because -1 is not included, so I have to put -1 if I want to go to 0. And this -1 here is it shows that my steps are in a reverse order. So if I do that, I get 9, 8, 7, 2, 0. The other way of doing this function is this one. So let me just run the first one first and run the second one. So in the second part, so we use the function reverse and then range from 0 to 10. So you see that these two are identical. So I can on the top I started with 9 to the ended at -1 and use the -1 as my stepping element. But here I started and saying, okay, I want the range 0 to 9, and I just want that list be reversed. So that's similar. Or you might say I want something like this one. I want 0 to 21 every 3 steps. So it says 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. But it doesn't go 21 because 21 is not included. So if you want to write that in a range format, now you should start from 18 and go to -1 and -3. So if I do that, I get the exact same results: 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, and 0. So that I'm just saying, make sure that sometimes if your increment is not 1 and your step size is 2, 3, or some other numbers, so you might not hit the last number that you targeted here, so because of the stepping side. And if you want to do the reverse in a range format, you should make sure that you're starting from a correct number. I personally prefer to just use the range and then use the reverse. That is, I believe that is cleaner for me to understand and work with that. Now let's look at the list L that has 3 elements, A, B, C. And I want to loop over these elements. So I say from the range 0 to the length of L, which is 1, 2, 3. So it means that I'm going from 0, 1, 2. Go and print I, which is 0, 1, 2, and Li, that element of the list. So I get this one. I get 0, I0, value A, I1, value B, I2, value C. So I can get access to the value of each element just by putting the brackets and inside that I. So The other way of getting access to that element is just using the function enumerate. So in that case, I can get directly both I and value, and you see that's the exact same thing. But instead of I don't need to put li anymore here. I have I, and value automatically calculates that, and we can use that. Now let's see how we can reverse it. So I have 0 to the length of L, and I just put the function reverse in front of that when I have range, and I get CBA this time. Why? Because my I is 2, 1, 0. That's in a reverse order. And let's do this and this. If I use the enumerate function L and I want to reverse that, first I need to change the type of that to the list type. But what happens if I, for example, don't put the list here? I get an error because it says object enumerate object is not reversible. So we have to turn that to the list first. Okay, perfect. Now let's look at the other technique that is used a lot, and that is using the function break. And let's see what that means and where we should use that. So for example, I have this for loop that is range 0 to 10, so it's going to go from 0 to up to 9, and I'm saying if I equals 4, so break the for loop. It means that I'm going to come out of the for loop. Let's see what happens. So when I is 0, at the beginning of the for loop, I is 0. At the end of the for loop, I is still 0. I go forward until I hit that I equals 4. So I have this. At the beginning, I is 4. Then I hit the I equals 4. I break. Nothing else after this break will be printed or will be considered by the algorithm. It just say for loop is done, and that's the end of that. So break means that just wherever I see this, that's the end of the for loop. Don't do anything else. But we have another function which is called continue. Now let's see what a continue means. If I do the continue says that I go and hit the 4, and when I see continue, it means that don't do any line after that and go to the next index in the for loop. So it's not going to print at the end of loop for I equals 4. You see here I have at the end of for loop printed out for all of them, but the number 4 I only have that for at the beginning of the for loop, but at the end of for loop it's not printed out. And then it's went to the I equals 5 and repeated everything to the 9. So if I break, that is going to stop here, nothing else is going to show up. If I use continue, it's going to give up on the rest of the code for that specific index, and then it starts over on the next index. So that is a difference between function break and function continue. Now consider that I have a list called nums, and this list could have different type of elements. So for example, this one is a string, this is a number, and then you have a matrix. That matrix could have different elements in it. So list could be something like that. And if I want to do a for loop, I can go range 0 to the length of nums, and I can print all elements of that, and let's see what we get. So we get A, B, 1, D, and then the matrix. So in Python, instead of when I have a list like this, instead of going and trying to access each element of the list, so it's easier just to use this one. We just say num in nums, print that. Does the exact same thing. So, and traditionally we call this list that has a lot of elements with a plural name as a plural name, and this one as a singular. So for example, num stands for single number, nums for a couple of different numbers, something like that. And that is a much concise way of using the getting access to the elements of the list. Now let's go over how we can use a for loop on strings. So imagine that I have a string called word, and the variable, the value is happiness, and if I go for a for loop, I can access to each letter, and by doing that I can print it out and say HA to the end, and I can actually also reverse this order, so from S to H, or you might want to sort that using the function sorted. So in that case, so A comes at the beginning and Y is at the end. But if you look at this word here, happiness, all of the letters are a small format. So what happens if I have a capital format, or I have a special characters or numbers? So let's see if I have this one for loop. Okay, this is all of them from the beginning to the end, and I can reverse that, so correctly reverses that, and also I can sort it. So this is going to be interesting. So the sorting of that, when it sorts that, it starts with the characters first, so it's going to sort the characters, then it starts to sort numbers. So you see 2 comes and then 8, and then it starts to sort the capital letters, so a capital N and then capital P and then small letters. So again, so there is a difference between a capital N and a small n, and the sorting function considers them separately by going for the capital letters first. Now let's go over another looping techniques that is called while loop. So this basically says while is true, so it says do the loop forever, and C initialized as 0, and here we have a C plus equal sign 1, which means C equals C plus 1. So that is our counter, that every time we are looping, so we are adding 1 to the C, and then we need to have a condition to stop this loop and say if C equals 7, break. So break is going to bring us out of the loop. So let's do that and see what we get. So if I do that, so I have counter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you see counter 7, when we say if C equals 7, so it's break. So it's not gonna continue and print that out. That's it. That's done at 7. So we only printed up to 6. Okay, this is the exact same thing. So instead of having the above code, so we can just put the statement of the C condition in front of the while and say, okay, when C is less than 6, just loop until it is less than 6. Whenever it's 6, just stop doing that. Okay, so it's going to go, and when comes up to the and C is equals to 6, it's not gonna do anything. So it's gonna print from 0 to 6 for us, and you can see. Okay, now we can go over the tuples, and for example, I have a tuple like this one that has, I call it birds because it has some name of birds, and also it has a number and a mate and a vector, and I can go over this tuple and print out elements like this, and I can also go and print them in a reverse order like this one. first the vector, then value z, and then name of the birds. And I can try to sort it, but I get an error because I cannot I have one integer, one string, so in case that you have different values, as you know, sorted function is not gonna work. But if your tuples are all same type, like this one that I have 3 strings, so I can sort them like this. So it's gonna be P and S, and you can see that is because the second letter is A and this one is I, so parrot is going to come first and then second pigeon. And that's how we can sort it. And you might want to do the order reverse. So just by putting the reverse true, you can reverse the order. And you might want to sort this, but not only based on the first character in the string. Maybe you want to sort it based on the second one. So in that case, you use lambdas and you say the things that we are going to care about in sorting is the second element, x of 1. If we do that, so we get this. So we have A, C, I. So that is sorted based on the second element. Now let's say I have a tuple that has 3 elements and 3 numbers, and I want to sort that. Can I do that? Yes. So it says 5, 14, 20. And can I reverse it? Yes, 20, 14, 5. So that should be fine. But if instead of having numbers, I have, for example, vectors like this. So it's a 2, 3, 1, 6, 3, 4. And I want to sort them. So let's see what happens. So I say 1, 2, 3. So it's gonna be sorted based on the first element in each vector, which you can also reverse it. So based on the first element of a vector, it's gonna be sorted. But you might want to sort them based on the second element. So in that case, you are going to sort them like this. So it's going to be 3, 4, 6. Now let's see, is that gonna work if instead of tuples I have a list? So I have a list that inside that there are 3 elements and each element is a list itself. Let's do that. Yeah, that's identical. So I can, if I want to, so if I have a list in a subtuples, that will be the exact same thing. Now let's look at the sets. So I have a set that I have a number 5, I have banana, and I have a tuple here. And I want to see the members of this set. And I can say, okay, that's banana, tuple, and 5. And you can see that the order is not what we expect to see here because this is a set. So it's not a list. So order doesn't matter. So because of that, when you print that, it's kind of random. So it's gonna print that in an order that probably you don't expect to see. And maybe you said, I want to reverse that. Would that work? No, because this is not reversible. There is not any order defined for that. And you might say, I want to sort it. Can I do that? So no, because for this specific set, so you have 5, and then you have a banana, then and you have a tuple, so it's not gonna sort that. But if I have another set, for example 5, 4, 10, and then can I sort that? Yeah, you can sort it. So in that case, you can sort that. But if, let's go back to our original set. So if I have this set and I say, okay, I have this set, can I make a list of that and this set sort that list, reverse that list? So let's see if we can do that. Yeah, So we can have a list of that. But if you remember that if I just try to reverse itself, it's not gonna work because it's not reversible. But if elements becomes the type list, then it is possible to do that. If you remember for the tuples, if I have vectors in it, and I can sort based on the second element. So, but if these vectors are members of a set, can I do the same thing? So, for example, if I have 2, 3, 1, 6, 3, 4, and a set, and say, okay, members in sorted S, and try to sort that based on the second elements. So, no, we cannot do that. So that is something that is only could be possible in this format. If you are going to use this function, that's only possible if that is a tuple or a list. So that we saw that also works for a list. So this is pretty much kind of a summary on the looping techniques of different types of data types in Python, and thank you so much for watching this video.